I used to hate running, but I stuck with it, got a bit better, and now I'm about to run a half marathon in the city that I'm living in, Berlin. The last personal best I set was in Valencia, and that was last year where I managed to get 1 hour 25 and 8 seconds. So I just have one question: can I beat that time? Now you're probably wondering why I'm all dressed up like this. Well, that's because I'm about to go to the Berlin Half Marathon Expo to pick up my bib. Funnily enough, where the expo is, I left my bike there last week when I was on a long run. And during that long run, I dropped my keys and I couldn't find them. So I just wonder if my bike's been nicked or not. Yeah, I really hope it hasn't. So to get there, we're going to get a Lime bike. And if you're unfamiliar with Lime bikes, they're basically just these electric bikes that you can rent for a ride. And whilst you're enjoying this lovely point of view from my bike of Berlin in the spring, so lovely, let me talk to you through my race plan. So I guess for the half, my aim is basically anything 123 I'll be really happy with. So I'm going to start off at about 3:57 pace and then assess where I am with halfway to go and see if I want to kick on and maybe try and sneak in a 122. And these would be the famous last words, as the plan of going out at 3:57 pace flew right out the window at the start line, which we'll all see a bit later on. I'm looking forward to it because it'll be my first race. And when I say my first race, I mean the first one since the Seville Marathon back in February. So it'll be good to see what kind of shape I'm in. And honestly, I don't know how people vlog and cycle because I'm constantly having to check ahead of me because the cars in crossroads. But getting the camera out was all worth it. I mean, just look at these views. Sadly, this happiness soon faded as I decided to take a shortcut on this absolute beast of a road. Now, these types of roads are common in Europe and especially in Berlin. You know, the cobbly ones, and most cyclists will actually go on the pavement. However, for whatever reason, I just stuck it out on the cobbles. And genuinely, I think my grip strength must have increased by about 10% just from holding on to the handlebars during this very bumpy ride. And a short while later, we finally made it to the field near the expo. But before I could check if my bike was still there and wasn't stolen, I gotta tell you guys that I made a massive error in renting the Lime bike. But I genuinely paid 10 euros for a 25-minute bike ride where I probably could have gotten an Uber for cheaper. And after getting over the disappointment fairly quickly, it was now time to check if my bike was still there. And lo and behold, there she is. This is my bike. Been there for a week now, and sadly I can't find the keys. Now I already had a look on the day I lost in my search for about 30 minutes, but for the life of me I just couldn't find them. On my way to the expo, I'm gonna have to cross the field anyway, so hopefully the key might pop up. I'm not spending another 10 euros on a Lime. Little did I know I was using the Lime bike wrong the entire time, which we're gonna find out a little bit later on. But before we go to the expo, I just want to let you guys know why you should come to this field if you ever plan on doing a run in Berlin. Forget Tiergarten, which is where the gates are, which is the park you might see the most in Berlin for running. This is the place to do your long runs at. So 6 or 7k loop, uninterrupted, no cars, no nothing. With Tiergarten, sometimes you gotta stop at the lights. And if there's one thing that I've learned about during my stay in Germany, is that at a red light, no matter what, even if there's no car in sight, you simply cannot cross the road. I think this is the only country where if I cross the road when it's red, I genuinely feel like a criminal. And the cool thing about this field is that it used to be an airport. They were halfway through building it or something, and then they just completely abandoned it. I'm not sure why, so you'll have to look online. But either way, it's pretty cool to be able to run around an airport, or what was almost an airport. And whilst I was looking for my keys on the way to the expo, I came across something that in all my long runs here have never noticed before. And look how crazy this is. And there's just an abandoned plane through a fence. It's all a bit mad. The only downside about running in this park is that because it's so open, you're going to be battling the headwind for about 2 to 3k of the loop. And as I was desperately looking for my keys, reality soon began to sink in. I don't think the keys are showing up, so I'm just going to have to come back with some bolt cutters as long as it hasn't been stolen by then and try and get it open then. So with that out the way, it was now time to make my way through the expo hall to pick up my bib, which was the magical number 30618. And after this, I speed walked my way through the rest of the expo and out the door where I'd return to another Lime bike to make my journey home. But this time I noticed on the app there's a thing called Lime Pass, and for the cost of 7 euros I could get a 60-minute bike ride. So it got me thinking as to why on earth did I pay 10 euros for just 25 minutes on my way. And this time I made sure to avoid any shortcuts back home and stick to the main roads to avoid the cobbles at all costs. And after good old Google Maps in my ear telling me where to go, we finally made it home unscathed, and it was time to let you guys know about my plan for race morning. So the race starts around 10 a.m, so my plan is going to be to wake up at 7. It's going to give me enough time to have my breakfast and then make it to the start line with about an hour to go so I can do my bag drop and warm up. But the conditions look perfect. There's an app called Meteo Pace. This isn't sponsored. It's just a really good app, and it basically tells you how realistic your target is based on the course profile, so like the elevation and also the forecast fast. So if it's going to be really hot or really windy, then your target time is probably going to be, a minute or two less, and it will adapt your pacing strategy because of that. But luckily on Sunday in Berlin, the conditions are going to be perfect. So much so that I really have no excuses if I don't hit my goal time. So I've just woken up. It's about 8:45 a.m. and today is the day before the Berlin half. So what I'm going to do today is go for a 6k really easy run. So for me that's going to be anywhere between 120 to 130 beats per minute, and then I'll probably just finish off with some strides at the end. I'll do about 4 to 6 by 100 meters, and then for the rest of the day I'm just chilling, trying to get my carbs in, and we're going to start off right now with a bagel. So after pouring some honey on these absolute beauties, I went on to my pre-run routine, which is to smash out some games of chess. Sadly, I was having a pretty bad day and went on to lose about 6 games in a row. So with that in mind, it was time to get off my chair, say goodbye to the kiddies. Bye kiddies! Do a quick warm-up and head out on the run in what could be one of the greatest shoes of all time, the Adidas Evo SL, which is my go-to shoe if I ever need to do an easy run with some strides at the end. Now remember when I said I would keep this run really easy? Well, like my race plan, which you'll soon find out, that went straight out the window as well. As after having one day off running, and basically forgetting I had a half marathon tomorrow, I set out at a slightly higher heart rate than intended. Like it still felt easy, but it was definitely at the top end. I just finished up my strides, about 2:55 to 3 pace. Anyway, we're now going to jog back home and continue with the carb load. And honestly, days like this is what makes Berlin so amazing. I think it's got to be up there with one of the nicest cities I've been in when it's spring and the sun is shining. Forget the techno raves, running on a spring morning like this is what Berlin is all about. Just finished up the 6k, well I did 30 minutes of running, some strides at the end, felt good. Now it's time to go home and munch on some Haribos. So I'm back home guys, and you know what, my legs feel unbelievable. Anyway, it's time to continue the carb load, and this time we're going with my go-to meal after any run. Inspired by marathon runner Phil Sessman himself, we've got Nesquik. That is bloody lovely. So it was now time to continue the carb load with this secret weapon, Haribo. Pure sugar, and it's a carb loader's dream really. Sadly, I got a bit carried away and ate the entire pack in about 5 minutes. This is the face of a man that has absolutely no idea what's about to hit him in about 1 hour. And that's when all the sugar hits my head. I was an absolute state. Sadly, I have no footage of this, but what I can tell you is that after losing some more games on chess, the carb load was back in full swing, with a Morton 320 drink mix followed by homemade garlic bread and some pasta, which I forgot to take a photo of. Aww. Which I then topped off with one of these delicious cinnamon rolls, which put me at around 700 grams of carbs for the day. And before I head off to bed, I'm just going to quickly show you guys what I'm going to be wearing tomorrow and my fueling strategy. So first up, we've got the Soar Marathon half tights. Now the reason I love these ones is they have great storage at the back. There's like literally no bounce, which is great when you want to carry a phone and some gels. And this is my bib, and we've got it on a Tracksmith, what are these even called? Singlet. To track my heart rate, I'm going to be using the Polar, I don't know what one this is, but it's the heart rate one that goes around your heart, I guess, not your arm. Yeah, a chest strap that goes around your heart. For fueling, I'll have one Precision Fuel 30 gram carb gel like 20 minutes before, one at 7k, and then the caffeine one at around 12k. And then, of course, we've got the Asics Tokyo Speed Sky. Now, I actually thought these were the Edge when I ordered them. Yeah, and the reason why I've got the Sky ones instead of the Edge ones is because before the Seville Marathon, I was meant to order the Edges. But classic me, when I order online, for whatever reason, I never double check anything. So the shoes came and I realized these aren't the ones that I needed. They're actually the Sky, and that's probably why they were discounted as well. Just because I think the Edge is a little bit more in demand. But anyway, they came too close to the Seville race. So for that reason, I just had to wear them. And to be honest, at my level, I don't think the difference between the Tokyo Sky and the Edge are gonna make a whole load of difference. Anyway, I'm gonna hop into bed, get a good night's sleep. So it was time to say goodnight, where I'll be seeing you all tomorrow morning. So after waking up and being greeted by the cats, I think they were just waiting for their breakfast, it was time to get my pre-race meal down, which is just 4 bagels with honey on. Roll my legs out on the foam roller and then just chill out for about an hour until it's time to head out the door for the race. Currently on our way to the race. Gonna get a line bike there. So the plan was to go out at 3:57 pace. I wish. This plan went straight out the window. As my first kilometer, I dropped a 3:42.
Now, I think I just got caught up in the moment and everything, and I just went out way too hot. So then I dropped the pace back down to 3:55 per K, which still wasn't part of the race plan because I told myself I'd be running at 3:57 per kilometer. But honestly, at the time I was feeling good at 3:55, so I thought I'll keep doing this pace and then assess the situation at around halfway. So about halfway through, I had one gel and I was actually feeling pretty good, so I carried on doing about 3:55 pace. But then I remember from about 15K onwards, that's when the pace started to slip a bit. I dropped into the 3:57s, 3:58s. But in the back of my mind, I knew that if I kept this pace, I would be able to get my goal of a 1 hour 23 half marathon. But then with about 2 kilometers to go, I looked down at my watch and I was starting to do the maths, and I realized that if I could step up the pace to about 3:50 per kilometer, I'd be able to sneak in like a 1:22:55 or 59 seconds half marathon, which I'd be absolutely buzzing with. But sadly, that last 2 kilometers, I was in another dimension. I was hurting so much and I'm just waiting for the race to finish. But that gave me a huge personal best of a 1 hour 23 and 6 seconds half marathon. And after a quick cool down jog back home, I absolutely demolished the shawarma just to replenish the glycogen stores. And then it was then time to do absolutely nothing all day and get a good night's sleep. So if you're interested in my journey and how I got faster, then be sure to click the video here, and I'll see you in the next one.